Okay, we'll go ahead now and call the meeting to order, and we'll entertain a motion for the signing of the claims in a minute.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay, Daryl, there you go. Didn't see you back there. Morning, sir.
Okay, this morning, get to open up this meeting here with the honor of our military veteran chosen by the commissioners, our county commissioners. Interesting piece here, the longevity, the wisdom, and the dedication of a team. What I mean by a team is a husband and wife, to go through a lot of the career moves that you have to go through. This is a case of where you still see, you know, we'll talk about it again, but that's 51 years of marriage, and over half of it has been following him around in the service. And that's a big challenge. And I am pleased to have both the husband and wife. We are honoring the veteran, Richard Lee Harold, the oldest of 4 siblings, raised in Billings, Montana, of all places. How did he end up here? I'll let you know. From February of 1949 until he graduated his junior year of high school. Just before his senior year, the family moved to Southgate, a suburb of Detroit, Michigan. Before the school year started, he joined the United States Navy Reserves. And I'm talking high school year, senior. And was able to complete naval basic training prior to his high school graduation in 1967. At this point, he decided he wanted to be part of the active U.S. Navy and enlisted and was sent immediately to the Naval Station in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, awaiting orders for special training following schooling for Pensacola, Florida. He would visit that location many times through his career because that was mostly the location of where he would receive higher level training. During his time in the military, his assignments included numerous leadership positions, both land and sea. He began in Philippines, followed by Scotland, Iceland, Spain, United Kingdom, Michigan, and finally retiring in 30 September 1995 in Grand Rapids, Michigan area, honorably serving 28 years. He has made many major memories through his course of his military career, but the one he spoke of and remembers most is during his tour as a recruiter in Flint, Michigan. He recruited his daughter into a 4-year ROTC program. ROTC. Again, he served 28 years in the United States Navy and honorably discharged in October of 1995, the rank of Master Chief. That's no joke either. That's a fine accomplishment. A lot of tests that you have to get to that rank of V9, and received numerous awards and accolades. They finally moved here in 2015. The reason being is after his daughter completed the naval career, they both husband and spouse came here. They ended up working in the orthopedic industry in Warsaw. So over time, I'm sure they were harassed, and the children said, hey, you need to come here, move down here to Warsaw, and then hence, that's how we ended up with someone from Montana to get to Warsaw, Indiana, and we're glad to have you both. The good thing is his wife, Tatiana, they just celebrated their 51st wedding anniversary. They have 2 children and 4 grandchildren. Today, the Harolds live in Warsaw. I am leaving the biggest piece for Richard to talk about how did this great team come together mid-career in the military. But with that, I would like to have a large Round of applause for our Veteran of the Month, Richard Harold. Still remember how to do that. Be careful. Got it. Right there in the middle, face outward. Yes, sir. Okay, back up. Get back up. Okay, with that, I'd just like to present the certificate, the Kosciuszko County Veteran of the Month to Richard Lee Harold for a recognition of outstanding contribution to the mission of the serving the people of the United States, the residents of Kosciuszko County, the honorable service as a member of the United States Navy. Thank you for your service, both of you.
What I was asked to talk about was how we got together. It's kind of an interesting story. After I left Scotland, I was assigned to a place in Maryland at Bainbridge to Raymond B School. And my parents still owned a home in Montana and they owned a home in Michigan. And I was going weekends from Pennsylvania to Detroit. And I had a couple sisters living there, so they didn't want me around, so they set me up with a blind date. And it was not the date that anybody would really want. Had car problems, got caught with the top down. It was a convertible in a rainstorm. Needless to say, she would not go out with me a second time. And I went on up to Iceland and was up there about 4 or 5 months, and I started getting letters in the mail from her saying, you know, it was a bad date. We'd like to reset the clock. And so we agreed that she was going to come up in during the summer and was going to go from Detroit to New York to Iceland, and then we were going to go to Scotland for the date, actual date. And Nixon announced that he was going to mine the harbors in Vietnam. And they wanted the all at sea qualified in my specialty to go back to Vietnam. And so you could count us all Navy-wide on 1 or 2 hands. And so I was feeling kind of down and out because the date was obviously not going to happen. And I worked for a senior chief who saw that I was under some sort of duress. He asked me what it was. I explained it to him. He says, you've got to be off the rock tonight. He got me on, ensured that I got out of Iceland, headed for New York and Detroit. She met me at the airport. We went for a ride. Close to the same area we had the car breakdown a year before. And we discussed and said, we can probably get married within a week. Now, this is before Memorial Day. So the Tuesday after Memorial Day, we were running around visiting the court, getting our paperwork all lined up, and sure enough, on the following Friday, we were married. And we took a short honeymoon to Montana to visit my family. My family didn't even know I was even in the country yet, let alone getting married. And after that, I went back to Iceland, and then about a month later, she was able to come up to Iceland. And as the story goes, with the threatening to mine the harbors in Vietnam, we all know that North Vietnam finally decided it was time to call it quits. And we were able to finally work our way out of that long war. But she's been with me, and the one beauty of what had happened is we had to work out our problems. After all, we were married. We're on date 3, maybe. And to call home and to talk to mom or dad was $13 a minute back then. And when you're only making $200 a month, you do not talk to mom and dad. You know, you might write, but you do not talk on the phone. So we had to work our problems out. And I think that's what really made us a very strong unit, is from the very beginning, we had to work our problems out.
That's an inside joke between David and I. All right. Thank you guys very much for being here. All right, Steve. You have nothing today? All right, Matt. Good morning.
Morning,
If you could
Matt.
state your name so they have for the record.
My name is Matt Banta. I've been in Kosciuszko County for about 25 years. Cut my hair many times. I love
Good.
the gumballs off the walls. In
Oh, yeah,
Mentone.
Mentone era, yeah.
So I am a big First Amendment auditor advocate. Love watching them. Love it when things go right. Love it when things go wrong, you know. And it started to just kind of creep into my mind that I wanted to know about my county. I want to know how prepared we are, because I don't want to see a frivolous lawsuit because a public employee doesn't know how to address a camera. So I started calling around to find out what training was like for the city and county, and got a lot of head scratching. People didn't know. Ended up talking with one lady who said, you know, I just saw an ordinance pass that might have something to do with what you're looking at. And I read the ordinance, and I was absolutely shocked, because in my mind, it seems to fly in the face of the Constitution. In a public building that my tax dollars pay for, I can get a $2,500 ticket for walking into the courtroom to record making a child support payment, to record a fiance and I getting engaged and signing the paperwork. $2,500 ticket for that. $7,500 if I do it the second time. So I question the constitutionality of that. The second part that bothers me is outlawing phones at all on the second floor. And it seems to me, through reading this ordinance, that the first part of it, the judges knowing that they have control of their courtrooms, but nothing outside the courtrooms, decided to hand the responsibility to the commissioners to protect the building. And in protecting the building, what they've done is in my mind, they've absolved themselves from the responsibility, put it on you guys, which I think is unfair. And the thing that I've gotten, and this is questioning, because two of the three of you questioned the bill, or the ordinance. And here we are today. So, you know, I didn't get any type of response from you. I did from all three of the commissioners. And I tried to let enough time go by that it wasn't just a miscommunication. So what I'm looking for out of this is, why was the bill or the ordinance passed in the first place? What was its intentions? I don't like the unable to record in a public building. You know, even Department of Homeland Security put out a memo in 2018 and says that it is absolutely legal to record inside and outside federal buildings, as long as you're standing in a place that you're legal to be. So you can't trespass the eyes. You can have restricted areas. The judge can control his courtroom, but in my mind, a judge needs to handle the courtroom on an individual basis. You do not make the county citizenry pay for individuals that don't know how to behave in a courtroom. You tell them what they're doing is wrong, you fine them, you jail them. But you don't take it out on me. So that's where we are. A lot of questions that I've got that I'd like to get answered.
Okay. I appreciate this. This is what makes our country great. And I appreciate you coming in. So what discussion, thoughts, anybody?
No, I mean, I think it's good that came in and brought this to our attention. I mean, I think it's something that we're looking at and trying to sort out what might be a more middle ground on some of this. Meeting with I know Brad's had several conversations with our department heads, just making sure what kind of implications, this has on our department heads and our offices over there, and just making sure we're coming up with something that makes sense.
Right, and, so to be clear, seems like First Amendment violation on the first floor, just the audio video recording. To outlaw cell phones completely on the second floor, where there is public lobby, where there are courtrooms, but there's also conference rooms, that feels like a Fourth Amendment violation because you're depriving me of my property. If I want to go upstairs to support somebody that's going to court and sit in the lobby and play games on my phone, text message, all that, completely legal. You take my phone away from me, that feels like a lawsuit. And I don't want to see that happen in our county. So what it feels like is that we put down a wall that we're just going to push everybody out because of a couple of bad individuals that don't know how to behave with a phone in court. And I think that's wrong.
But thank you for, I appreciate your input. You're correct on the judges having autonomy in their courtroom.
Yes.
And we give that to them. But we are given the responsibility of keeping people safe, and there's more than one way of keeping people safe. One is keeping them, the security people to front door, the things that they do is an integral part of keeping people safe. These other things are things that you're mentioning about your constitutional rights, is that they have the right to do these things as long as they're done properly and decently and in order. And you also mentioned restricted areas. And that's pretty much what that second floor is for people who have to go there to do business and eventually possibly be testifying in court or be a witness in court. And so we need to protect their rights from somebody videotaping them or getting information via their cell phone that they can use outside the courtroom or outside that particular area. Facebook being what it is, if I go there to testify against someone that is there for trial, next thing you know, my face is on Facebook. I mean, that's their right to do that, but they need to do that outside the restricted area. We feel that those people who go there for that purpose need to feel that they're safe and secure from that invasion of possibly being used in a clandestine manner in some other way. You're right, in your mind, you have these questions, and that's our place to answer those questions. And I think we've done that fairly. You also mentioned fines and costs. Any judicial system or penal system has fines and costs associated. The purpose is to deter that activity that you mentioned, and that's what we're attempting to do. These things are not etched in concrete. It's an idea, an ordinance that we came up with. We feel that, to a certain degree, we have the ability to change those, to tweak them, to do something different. And if we feel that's necessary, we feel the right to do that. You hired us and elected us to do that, and we will do that. Thank you. Thank you. So.
Yeah, and I guess to kind of rebut what you were saying, in a similar situation, if you take a look at HIPAA, if you take a look at the county clerks, where you have private information, if I'm standing on this side of the glass, I can record anything that I can see, okay? So it is up to the folks behind the glass to protect information. I cannot violate HIPAA with a camera. A county employee can by allowing me to record it. Okay, so in the same sense, we're kind of doing the same thing here in that you're barring me from even being present, right? You're not, if you're going to restrict the second floor, then you need to restrict the second floor with borders, with a restricted area, just like I can't walk into certain offices in here, but you can't just ban the public.
I would just say this, I think, and I told just when we were talking outside, I appreciate you bringing this up because I think there are some things that we need to look at, and we talked about that. Just bear in mind, it is, and I don't mean this, it's government, so we meet every 2 weeks, so you're not gonna have an answer tomorrow.
No,
But
I understand.
But what I would encourage you to do, I can't tell you what to do, but would encourage you is just hang with us.
Yeah.
I have some things that I have a problem with that I want to see changed. We'll see what you think of that, but I mean, I'm doing it more because I feel it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and I think
But I
that-
appreciate you pointing
I
out.
think the second clause needs to be gone altogether, and the fines are absolutely ridiculous. I mean, a $2,500 first-time offense. Show me another similar fine.
I think we have a lot more common ground than you think, so we'll just let the system work a little bit if you don't mind.
And I guess the only other question that I have, and I'm done, to the county attorney, I understand, at least I've heard through several people, that this ordinance was basically copycatted off of what other counties are doing. I would love to know if this has been challenged in a federal circuit court.
Yeah, it hasn't. Other counties do have similar ordinances. Marshall, DeKalb, Allen, Whitley, Noble. Those have not been challenged. The constitutionality of the ordinance is such that there are reasonable restrictions that are allowed under the Constitution when we're dealing with security where courthouses are located. And what the ordinance does is it makes exceptions for recordings if it is governed by Indiana open door law. So those exceptions are made and reasonable restrictions made. That being said, I think you've heard the commissioner's voice and opinion that maybe in conjunction with some of our department heads that there are some tweaks that could be made here that would better suit both the public and our county employees. So, yeah, I would just encourage you to look forward to those changes and take a look at those.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks.
I mean that. Take care. All right.
Thank you, Matt.
ARPA recommendations.
Okay, so this is an ARPA application that's been submitted to the committee. They meet tomorrow, and the council meets on Thursday. It's being presented to the commissioners today. You will vote either to pass or not to pass it based on the recommendation of the committee that meets tomorrow. So you can pass it today contingent on their vote tomorrow. This is for a communications tower at Sydney. It's a 180-foot tower. When we initially started the Public Safety Communications Project, we had originally proposed to put one at Sydney, but the decision was made to do the major three and then see what the coverage was afterwards. So now that the system's been up and running for several months now, probably 7 months by now, the decision has been made that they need that coverage, so we need to put that tower in at Sydney. And this will just move it forward to the council for the end result.
I'd make a motion to approve or contingency upon ARPA committee approval for the funds for this, because this is just part of the cost of that tower. The remainder of the funds we'll be
Correct.
getting from our edit funds, so. But it's, it's one of those things, we've made a big investment into our public safety communication. and
Carrie,
this
I'll
is-
second your motion so we can discuss.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
No, it's an important investment in our public safety, and this is kind of the last piece to really bring it up to that full full potential down in that Eel River Valley. We end up with some shadows down there that we just couldn't get coverage, so.
When we started this, the goal was to cover the whole county.
Right.
So we need to finish. the
We're
job.
finishing
And-
what we
And there's
started.
already some money committed, right, from
Yeah.
the city and other areas too, so it's, yeah.
I'd like to thank Carrie and Marcia for their due diligence in this. It's been a long, drawn-out process. It hasn't been easy, I understand. Had a couple hiccups along the way, but I'd call the vote.
Okay, all's in favor
Aye.
and opposed? All right. I'm an aye,
Marcia.
just to
Thank you.
clarify. All right,
No, you're welcome.
so Barry, I saw you back there. Morning, sir.
Morning, Barry. Nice shirt. Okay.
Thankful for my wife that helps me look good. At least that's what she tells me.
That's what my plan,
We were made aware of a grant opportunity on the 7th of this month. Small grant for $10,000. We're just here this morning asking for your permission to apply for it. It's due October 2nd, I believe. So we'd use $5,000 next year if we are awarded the grant for our national conference travel expenses, $2,500 to pay for some drug tests, and then $2,500 to buy incentives for the drug court program.
Make a motion that we accept Community Corrections Barry Andrews' request.
Second that.
Any questions or discussion? All's in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay,
Thanks, everybody. Have a good
is
day.
that easy enough?
Keep up the
Yes,
good work.
thank you. Thank you.
All right. Ed, you have anything for us?
I have one item. It is a grant agreement. This grant agreement is with the state, and it is for our opioid funds. This is to allow us to receive $226,500. This is one of the